All right, welcome back. The last session we mentioned Babel, okay? But let me start this session by letting you know why we really need Babel, especially in React. There are several reasons why we need Babel when we are writing a JavaScript project, okay? But basically, right now, why do we need Babel? Okay, look at why we need Babel. Okay, so if you watch what we have here, okay, we are using the old render. Okay, I couldn't get a better example with the create root and root.render example. So let me show you what we are doing here. Okay, here we are actually getting the element and we are using the render method, the old render method. Okay, I can even take this guy out. We are using the old render method. So we are creating, um, okay, I can take this one out too so that everything would look all right. So I will take this guy out and put it up here. I will call it root. Okay, and it will be equal to this. All right. So then this render will take in the root element then and the DOM, the root DOM. Okay, so let me format this code and then explain to you. Okay, look at what I'm doing here. Okay, the render method would expect the component you want to pass into it. Okay, let me call it root component so that we'll have a better, easier, it will be easier to read. Let me call it root component. Okay, so the render method is expecting the root component, all right, and the DOM, the root DOM, the root uh, um, DOM, okay? So we first of all created a component here using the react.create element, okay? Then we now found the root DOM using the document.get element by ID. So we passed it here. And when we run this thing, we have, even without Babel, okay? Let me not show you, even without Babel, this will work fine because we don't have any. If I take that one out, if I comment the Babel out, I would also have to take this one out too. All right. So if I save now, go back to the browser, everything works as it was working before. All right. So then why do we need Babel? Why do we need Babel? So look at this. You can see that we are using the react.create element to create element. And you look at it as we are creating. Remember, this is the create element to taking the element you want to create, then the attributes. Okay, let me even take this attribute out so that we'll have less code here. Okay, then it will not take the children of that element you want to create. So instead of passing a test node, we are passing a node. Okay, so we are creating another element. Just imagine that if we need to create another element again, let's imagine that after this div, we are creating another div inside of it. Okay, it's going to look very messy. Okay, and I'm passing in another react.create element again because this is going to be the child react.create element. And I'll say, okay, let me create. Oh, I can just say, okay, react.fragment, since I want to create, um, since I would want to create an element, I will just say react.fragment. Okay, let me not waste too much time here. So let me just make this example very simple. So I would now create H1, okay, and no attributes. Then I'm just going to say hello, React Babel. Okay, so you can see what we are having here. Okay, we are having a lot of React create element. Just to create an element, we are doing all these things. So it is, if you have a lot of elements in it, it's going to be messy. So that was why JSS was introduced. That was why JSS was introduced. So with JSS, now let me create this application to use JSS. So with JSS, this is what I'm just going to do. I will no longer use the React create element again. I'm just going to say, I will do this. Okay, this is a valid JSS. Okay, then This is the element that we usually use react.create to create. Then I can pass in children in here. I can say another element, okay? Or I can use react fragment, okay? I can use react fragment, you remember? Then I will now say h1, hello react, okay? Then I will now use a paragraph and I will say, this is a Babel example. Okay. So look at what I'm doing here. All right. Which one is simpler? When we are using that React create element, okay, this is better. This is way, 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 way better. It is easier to read. All right. It is easier to read. So this is a JSS. We are using JSS syntax to create React component now. So this is a valid element. This is a valid element. All right. This is a valid element. So what do we have to do here? Okay. So what we do is we would, when we save this, it's not going to work. It's going to break. Why? Let's go and see. Let's inspect our console. It says on core syntax. Now, the thing is this, this JSS is not the normal JavaScript. It is not normal JavaScript. So when you're writing something that is not JavaScript, the browser will not understand it. So that is where we now have to use Babel, anyone, okay? I remember that Liverpool player, Ryan Babel, okay? I told you I'm a Liverpool fan. So Babel, anyone that we call it, okay, so that's why we need it. So what Babel does is that it transpiles. Transpilation is when you take a programming language, convert it to another programming language. So this is JSS right now. So with Babel will now help us convert this whole thing to create React.create element. React.create element is a JavaScript function. It's valid JavaScript. So, but this JSS we are writing here is not valid JavaScript. So Babel will now transpile it for us. Transpilation means converting or compiling one programming language to another programming language. Okay, especially higher level programming languages. Okay, so when you convert this syntax now to JavaScript, it is called transpilation, and we use Babel to do it. So that is where we will now need to bring in Babel. So we have to bring back Babel now. Okay, and again, because if you another thing is this, if you allow this whole thing, now we have included Babel, it will still not work. Let's go back and let me show you. It will still not work. The reason why it's not working is because the browser sees this script as a script, and then it will go on to evaluate everything it has here. But we are supposed to leave this. Babel will look for all the JavaScript in our code and help us transpile it. So we have to trick the browser not to look at this script. So when we say test/Babel, there's nothing like this. There's nothing like this. Okay, so the browser will ignore this. The browser will ignore this because this is not valid. There is no valid type like test/Babel. So the browser will ignore it and then allow Babel to now take over, to take charge and transpile this thing to JavaScript and pass it down to the browser. So if I save this now, let's go back to our browser and voila. Okay, we still have an error. This is our React component. I don't know why it's not working here, but this is how I definitely write it when I'm using. Okay, maybe because I'm not using it inside a. Okay, so let me use the React dot fragment. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why that's not thing is not working there, but this is how I write my in my application. So, but for some reason, okay. So when I save it now, we go back and voila, we have it. So you understand the reason why we need Babel now. Okay, we need Babel because we need to convert something that does not look like JavaScript into JavaScript so that the browser can understand it. That's why we need Babel. So this is one way of using Babel. All right. Then I'm going to show you, let's talk about Babel in details. Then I will now show you how we can actually use npm to install Babel and do other stuff. Okay. So pay close attention to this. You can even rewatch this part again to understand this whole thing, why we need Babel. Okay. So then let's go to slide and what is Babel? Okay. Basically, Babel is a JavaScript compiler or transpiler that converts modern JavaScript into older versions for browser compatibility. Now, let me explain. Most of the Java, okay, so the older browsers older some of the implementation, some of the new features of new versions of JavaScript has not been implemented by most of the browsers. So that is why we need Babel to take those new features of JavaScript, convert it to the old features so that the browser can understand it. So most of the times we are writing arrow functions, we are writing a whole lot of new features in JavaScript, but the browser does not understand these features. So that is where Babel will come, transpile that new JavaScript that we have written into old JavaScript so that the browser can understand it. So this enables developers to use the latest JavaScript features without worrying about the runtime support. Whether the browser support them or not, with Babel, they can transpile these things. We write the new syntax, which makes us better programmers, and the browser doesn't understand it. So Babel will transpile it so that the browser can understand it. Okay? All right. So why use Babel? For cross-browser compatibility. It ensures that modern JavaScript runs on older browsers. Older browsers might not have implemented new JavaScript features, so it will not understand it. So since it doesn't understand it, you need to transpile it. You need to you need to transpile those new features of JavaScript into what the older browsers can understand. So ES6 plus feature support. So this ES6 is the newest JavaScript, okay? And it has some features that the browser hasn't supported yet. So it transforms this new JavaScript syntax, something like the arrow function, the async await. It transforms them to the old JavaScript that the browser understands. JSS compilation. Now, this is the major reason why we are using Babel in React, because it converts our JSS syntax, okay, into JavaScript. So it will take our JSS syntax and then go back behind the scene, use the React.create element to create the element for us. That one JavaScript will understand it. So basically, we are using Babel and React to compile, to transpile the JSS syntax that we are writing into JavaScript. So for polyfills, it has missing functions like promise or arrays for older environment. So code optimization helps minify, strip development, only code, and enable tree shaking. Now, somehow, these things we are talking here might be advanced. So we are not going to dive deep into it. But I just want to bring you to your notice that you'll be seeing Babel. But what is Babel? Another thing you're still going to be seeing often is Webpack. All right. So now, Babel key features. It converts ES6 syntax to ES5. Okay. If you write now when you write optional chaining, if you don't know what is optional chaining, go back to our JavaScript class, our JavaScript for beginners. We mentioned it. Optional chaining, knowledge, coalescing, and more. These things are new to JavaScript. So the browser might not have implemented these new features of JavaScript. So it will need somebody else, something else, another program to transpile it to what the older browsers can understand. So when you before now ES is when you write an arrow function like this is an arrow function, okay? Babel would transpile it to ES5 and convert it to a normal function. You see, this is an arrow function and it is only found in ES6. It is not found in ES5, but the browsers understand ES5 for now. They have not implemented ES6. So it will not convert as of the time I'm making this video. All right. So ES5 Babel will now convert this ES6 syntax to ES5. But maybe in the next 5 years, browsers might have implemented all these features, and we might not even need to use Babel again. Okay. All right. So JSS transformation for React, Babel converts JSS into JavaScript. So when you write a JSS element like this, okay, this is not a valid JavaScript. You see this, we are using HTML-like syntax inside of JavaScript. It's not a valid JavaScript. That's why we call it JSS, JavaScript XML. So Babel will convert it into React.createElement, and this is what it will get. All right. So how do you install Babel? Okay. So this is how you install Babel. We are going to start a fresh application. So follow code along. Okay. How do you install Babel? Okay. So this is what we are going to do. We will um, okay. First of all, we are going to install the core Babel first. We will install the core Babel. All right. So this is how you install the core Babel. So first of all, go back to your React folder, open it. All right. Then I will just create, I'm going to create a new folder. I will call it, um, I will call it raw Babel example. So whatever you call your own is okay. I'll call it raw Babel. So I will go on to this folder, right click on it, open it in a terminal. If you have Git, you can open it with Git. I like using Git bash. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. Let me do use whatever everybody could have. So let's right click, show more options. Let's open with Visual Studio Code. So now I have this in Visual Studio Code. So I have the folder. It's an empty folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Terminal, New Terminal. I then have opened a new terminal. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to install Babel. So I'll do npm. Either I use I or I use the full install. So npm I will now say at Babel /core. Now, this is the core Babel library or the core Babel module. I will now say -- save dev. Okay. So when I hit enter, it will install Babel for me. It will install Babel for me. It is taking some time. Let's just be patient. All right. See, as it's installing Babel, it has created these node modules for me. I'm not going to explain these node modules now, but if you expand it, you're going to see Babel and other dependencies it will need for this application. Okay, it has installed Babel for us, so we have Babel here. So you can see our Babel has been installed. Okay, all right. So this is how you install Babel into your project. So this is a skeleton application I'm starting new. So we have installed Babel. So let's continue with our slide. Don't worry, we don't need this Babel CLI right now. That's why they don't install it. We don't even need this preset. We'll talk about preset later on, but we don't even need it. So now create a Babel configuration file, babel.config.json or Babel RC. So there are 3 files that work the same way. So they said we should go, so we create a Babel config file. Oh, no, this is not the one. Sorry. Sorry about that. Let me open it again. Okay. So we were asked to create, and again, it has also created package.json for us. And these are the dependencies we are using for this application. But I'm not going to explain all these things right here. So they say we should create a Babel config file. So there are 3 ways you can create a Babel config file. The first one is .babel ROC. This would work. Okay. Another one is, but you cannot have the 3 of them. Another one is babel.config. Oops. babel.config.js. Another one is also babel.config .json. So any of these work, but any of these works. But the thing is this, we can only take one. So for me, I just like taking Babel. I'm going to delete all these other ones. I like using Babel ROC. But for you, you can choose to use any one. It's your preference. Okay. So they say we should create Babel ROC, that's Babel configuration file. So I have done that. The next thing we have to do is to now enter our preset. Okay, but for some reasons, we are not using this preset for this our React application. Okay, in short, because we'll be using something we call a bundler, our parser bundler does not even need this Babel configuration file. So, but I'm going to talk about how what is preset and how we include preset. But for now, let's just leave our Babel config file empty for now until we talk about preset. So let's go on. So this Babel preset transforms ESC code to ES5. Okay, it transforms ES6 code to ES5. But the preset will be used, although we still need this one, okay, but we would also need the one that will convert our DSS to JavaScript code. So let's continue. So automatically determines the transformation needed based on the target environment. You see, this preset would automatically determine the transformation that needed based on the target environment. So I will talk about preset later on, but let's continue. All right. So what is a Babel preset? A Babel preset is a collection of Babel plugins that allow you to transform modern JavaScript code into a version that is compatible with older browsers or environment. Just see it as it is a plugin, okay, that does. Babel has different reasons why you are installing it in your application. Okay, so this if you want the one that will convert ES6 to ES5, we use the preset dash EMV. If you want the one that will convert your JSS to JavaScript, you use preset dash React. Okay, if you want the one that will convert arrow functions, class, and all those, all of them have their own presets. So, but you can go and do more research on this Babel and preset thing. I'm not going to dive deep inside it. I just want to give you a little overview of it. Okay. So instead of manually specifying multiple plugins, you can use a preset to bundle them together. Okay, so let's take a look at the common Babel preset that we have. The first one is the at Babel slash preset dash EMV. So this one is the most commonly used, and it automatically determines which transformation and polyfills are needed based on the target environment. So example, this is how you include it in your Babel configuration file. So you say preset colon, all right, square bracket, you put in all the presets that you have. All right, so we also have presets for React. All right, so it transforms JSS into JavaScript. All right, so the thing is, first of all, you need to install these presets. All right, you will need to install this preset. But because we are not even going to be using any of these presets, our parcel bundler will do all these things for us. Because we are not going to use all these presets. There is no need including it here. But if you want to learn more about Babel and Babel preset and plugins, please go ahead and make some research on this. Okay. So I just want to show you how you can set up a React application best skeleton. Okay. And that is what we'll be using to teach you. Later on, we will now show you how to use Vite and Next.js and React Create application to create React application. But for now, we are going to do it raw. That is why we are doing this, okay? And when we teach you raw, you would appreciate all those other frameworks better. So this is required for React applications. But because of the application we are going to write now, we are going to use Parcel Bundler to bundle the whole thing. We might not be needing this preset. So this is how you add the preset, all right, to your Babel configuration file. Okay, so using Babel presets, to use Babel people in a project, you have to install them. So this is how you install them. But I'm not going to install them actually because we are using parser to bundle, we might not be using it. So this is how you go about it. Include your distance. So now we'll be using a bundler. What is a bundler? Okay. A bundler is a tool that takes multiple JavaScripts and other files and compiles them into a single file or a few optimized file for production. Okay, you can when you have a lot of JavaScript code in modules in your application, okay, bundler will bundle all of them into one file. Bundlers help improve performance by reducing the number of requests a web page needs to load. So now the bundle we'll be using is Parcel. Parcel, and Parcel supports all major module formats out of the box. It supports common JS, it supports ES module. ES module is the one we'll be using in this example. It supports AMD, asynchronous module definition. It supports UMD, supports all of these modules. But let's go back to our code and make something count. Now, we just have Babel installed here, all right? We will still need to install Parcel. But before then, let us create our index.html page. Okay, so here I'm going to do, um, okay, so I will just, then inside the body, of course, I'm going to get my div, and the ID is going to be root, all right? Then I'm going to have um, index.javascript. Okay, so this is where I will now have to do all my creation. So here, first of all, I'm going to use React DOM. So I'll say React DOM. So if I want to import it, okay, let me import it. I have to import it first. I will say import. Okay, sorry about that. I have not installed React and React DOM. So sorry about that. So let's go and install it. We have just only installed Babel. All right, so we have not installed React and React DOM. So let's go and install it. I'll say npm, I'll say React, then space React DOM. Let's install it, hit enter. Unknown command. Oh, sorry, I said npm React instead of npm install or npm I. All right, so that was the error. So it's installing React and also React DOM for us. Oops, we have an error. Oh, sorry. Let me clear this thing. There's a mistake here, please. What I'm supposed to type is npm I React, then React DOM like this. Sorry, I got it wrong. So it's not React DOM in all of this, React dash DOM. Sorry about that. I like doing my stuff raw so that you see all the mistakes that are possible for you to make. So everything is correct now. So we have our React and React DOM. So if you go and open this node modules now, you will see we have React here and we have React DOM here. So perfect. So now if I say, if I will now say import, I will say import React DOM from React DOM like this. Okay, you can see now, no more errors. So I'm going to now say React dot create. Oh, sorry. I'm going to import this React DOM from React DOM slash client. Oops, a lot of mistakes there, but it's okay. So I will now say React DOM dot create root, and I'm going to create root. So the root I'm going to get, first of all, let me get my guy, my root element, my root DOM. I'll say constant root DOM, okay? And I'll say is equal to document dot get element by ID, and the ID is root, okay? Then I'm going to say create root with this root. You guys know what we are doing. We have done this thing already before. So I'm going to save it in a variable called root is equal to this. Then I'm now going to say root, sorry, root dot render. What am I going to render? I'm going to render my application. But this my application that I want to render, the function, the component I want to render here, I don't want to put it inside here. So I'm going to create another, sorry. I'm going to create another file. I will call it app.js. Okay. Here is where I'm going to create my functional component. So, but I'm going to use the class component, guys. I'm going to use the class component. Okay, so I will say class, I will call it app is equal to, sorry, extends. If this thing is confusing, try to understand it. And if it's confusing, reach out to us. We'll explain. See, it's better you go through the hard way to understand these things. It will make life easier for you as a programmer. So instead of using functional component, I'm using class component. They are all the same thing. So I will say React dot component. All right. I could also use pure component. Remember when we were talking about React object. So then I'm now going to use the render method here, and the render method would return for me. I'm going to still use JSS. I will just use JSS. I'll say H1. I'll say hello React and Babel. Okay, so this is my functional, this is my component. So in order to use this component, I will go back to my index.js and then I will import that component. I will say angle brackets, I will say app, okay? And if I say app like this, all right? Okay, so do I need to import it, export it? Yes, I need to. Yeah, I need to export it. I have to export it, export default. Okay, I have to export it so that I have to export it. Even when I'm using it here, I have to export it. All right. Wonderful. All right, you see. Okay. So we have created our class and we have exported it. If you don't understand what export default means, please, you have to go back to our JavaScript class. That is why we say we like teaching you from ground up, so that you will not be seeing things that are so strange. Okay, if you don't understand all these things, please go and take our JavaScript for beginners course and our JavaScript mastery. Okay, so now I have it, everything is cool here. All right, I have my functional component, and in here I have created my root, and I have rendered it. Okay, so I'll come back to my HTML index page. So I'm going to now create a script tag. This script tag will have a source to be, the source will be the source will be what? Index.js. Okay. This script is coming from is the source is index.js. Another thing you have to include is you say type is equal to module. Now, because we are using EXIS module pattern here, that is why we have to include this thing here. So because you see, we were doing some export and we are doing some import here, and we are using the module ES module to do all these things. So inside of here, in this script, I am importing as I'm having access to the index.js, and I also have to tell JavaScript that the type of the JavaScript I'm writing here is using ES module. Okay, so with this. Okay, sorry for the interruption in network. Okay, so I told you that we need a bundler. See, we have a lot of JavaScript files here. Inside this our mode, there's a whole lot of JavaScript files here. So we need to bundle all of them into one single file. That is where we now need Parcel. We have other bundles like Webpack and other ones, but we are using Parcel because it's very lightweight. So we go ahead and install Parcel. So npmi Parcel like this. We are good. So once this Parcel is installed, it will bundle everything for us. Okay. So it's installing. So it's taking some time. Think my network is not that strong. That's why it's taking this time. My network is not that strong. Okay, now that our parcel has been installed, okay, let me just clear my terminal. Now we have the parcel installed. So the next thing you have to do now is this. Okay, I told you, since we are going to use a bundler like parcel, we don't even need this configuration like this. We don't even need it. So let me just take it out. All right. In other ones, you can actually use them. But for the sake of this example, all right, we are not going to use it because parcel does everything for us. So I would remove it. So now, in order to run this application, now we have everything in check. We have our app.js, we have the index.js, we have index.html, we have every other thing here. We have installed all the things, React Node, Parcel, and Babel. So what do we need to do now is to say npx, all right, Parcel um, index.html. So now the thing is this, the entry point for parcel is index.html. When we run this thing, when we run this command, parcel is going to bundle this application and build a development uh, um, version of it so that we can actually run it and see it in the browser. Okay, so when I hit this, all right, Parser is going to bundle everything and build it for us. All right, you can see you can see we have a new folder here, Parcel Catch, and it is building it. Okay, and we have some error here. It's rebuilding it again, and it has built everything. So it has sorted everything out for us. And when you now go into this parcel created two files, two folders. The first one is parcel catch. I'm not going to touch that one. The second one is the dist folder. And you can see now we have index.html, and it's almost the same thing with what we have. But right now it is having a different index.js, and this is the index.js. So what Parcel did was that Parcel took all the code that we have, bundled them into index.js, this new index.3d whatever.js. So he took the app.js, he took the index.js and bundled all of them in the same file. So if you open this file now, you're going to see a whole lot. You see that we didn't write this amount of code, but Parcel has bundled everything with the help of Babel, and they have created something like this. This is not what we even have. All right. So our own was a very simple app.js here and also index.js. But Parcel has taken everything, bundled everything into one single file, and that is index.js here. Then it also created its own index.html where it will be running from. So since we called we said Parcel index.html, this is where it is running. So this is the stuff that will be running now. So if you go to localhost 1234, this will run. But another trick I have not done this thing before, but let me try it out. Without going to this server that Parcel has opened for us, since Parcel has done all these things for us, let me run this HTML application. Let me click on Go Live. So I'm using Live Server to open this file. And okay, it didn't work. It didn't work. So what I will do is this. The experiment I wanted to do didn't work. But let me go back to Parcel. Parcel said the server is running at localhost 1234. So let's go to localhost 1234. I would say localhost colon 1234. If I hit enter, there's a reference error. Okay, we didn't import React. Yeah, we didn't import React, so React is not imported. Sorry about that. Let's go back to our code, and let's go back to our app.js. We didn't import React, so and we are using it here. So sorry about that. So this is the life of a developer. Sometimes you have some omissions and mistakes, but the thing is that if you understand all these things, all right, you know where it's coming from. So I know where the error is coming from, so I'm just going to fix it. So for me to use this React object, I have to import it so that it will be available. Now, since I have done that, I will have to rerun this application again so that Parcel can actually rebundle it. So I'm going to end it. Control C if you're using window. So I've ended it. But all I have to do now is to run it again. I will say nps parcel index.html. And when I hit enter, the first time we were doing it, we had that small error. And now there's no error again. It has built successfully. So let's go back to our browser, and voila, we have it working now. So it's as simple as this. Okay, so we just have a simple React application, a very simple React application. Okay, so let me recap what we did here. First of all, we just created an empty folder. I called it raw Babel. You can call it anything. Created an empty folder, opened it in Visual Studio Code, and the first thing we did was to install Babel. Okay, you install Babel. You can configure your Babel, but we didn't need to configure Babel here because we are going to use Parcel that can bundle it for us. So install Babel, install React DOM, install Parcel. All right. After doing that, you create your HTML page. All right. Make sure you have the root element here, and create your index.js, create your React application. This same function with this component we created here, you can actually create it in you can create it inside here. But I have to do this so that we can see how we do import and export. So this application we are using here, we created it in a separate file and we exported it. First of all, we imported React so that we can use the React component, create a class component. We exported it, and then in the index.js, we are importing it. We also imported the React DOM from React DOM/client, and we did all this thing we have been doing before. After doing that, we now have to run nps parcel index.html, and it created these folders for us, and it will now run it for us. Okay, so that is basically it. So let me still try, since this error has been sorted out, let me go back to this index.html. I'm going to run this thing using let me run it again. I think this is supposed to work. I've not tried it before, but since this is a HTML file and it is getting this source from here, so we are going to be using it. I think it should work. So let me run it again. Don't worry if you don't understand this, my experiment. I like experimenting things. Oh, it didn't still work, but let me check. Let me see what the error is. Because its MIME type is test session, it's not executable. Okay, no problem. It seems like if you bundle anything with Parcel, you have to use Parcel to run it. And here, Parcel server is actually doing this for us. But when we start to write production applications, we'll be using something like Next.js, create React application of it, and they will do all these things for us, okay? But for now, let us start writing best skeleton applications, ground up, so we can understand all these small things that we are learning here. So thank you very much. That we'll see you in the next chapter. In the